You're listening to Three's a Crowd, the North East Footy podcast, with Rye for Borough, Steve for Newcastle United, and Ted for Sunderland.
I missed that intro. I missed it last week, lads.
2 weeks apart.
International break, lads.
God, I hate it. I hate it.
A break from the international love that we have.
And another month, and then we'll be back into another international break. But yeah, welcome to Three's a Crowd, and it is the only North East football podcast with a Sunderland fan, a Newcastle fan, and a Middlesbrough fan, all getting on famously.
Sounds like a bad joke, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It definitely does. Welcome to everybody across all three platforms. We're streaming across all three platforms, and of course, it will be there as a pre-record. Don't forget to hit the likes on all the channel, whichever channel you're watching, and hit the subscribe button on all the channels you're watching. It is very important. We do these things for free, and it's nice to get a tiny bit of recognition from everybody. So thank you for that. I do talk about recognition, lads. A great segue.
Hey, he's got a button. He's got a button.
It's made of Lego, lads. It's made of Lego. I didn't make it. Yeah, I didn't make it. It came in bits. But it was nice of them to send us it. And yeah, there's a reward program that YouTube have launched for people who, continue to make content. So, it's nice because they do recognize you and they do thank you. Obviously, the more subscribers, the more views you get, it becomes a job, I guess, in a lot of ways. You're a content creator, but I like the way YouTube are reacting now. They are, sending things out. They're giving us tokens for things, discount on coffees and food and stuff. So listen, thank you, YouTube. Massive thank you for that. And I just want my brothers in football to make sure that they keep on doing what they're doing, spreading the word about Sunderland and Middlesbrough, because it's great. And we do it in a nice way. We show that rivalry can be about football, nothing else. So that's the main thing. We'll have had an international break, and before starting with our three teams, let's talk about the England manager. And it's something really which doesn't concern Rye, but he certainly have an opinion about it. I'll give you my opinion. Thomas Tuchel's come in. It was very much a case of it's not Eddie Howe for me. Although our local paper, Newcastle's local paper, is the Evening Chronicle. Sunderland have the Echo, and the Borough lads have the Gazette. Our Evening Chronicle today has basically said that should Tuchel get off to a bad start, of course, it means that Eddie Howe will still be favoured for the job. I mean, come on. Give us a break, man. He's got an 18-month contract. I'm happy. I'm happy they've managed to make an appointment. Lee Carsley wasn't the answer. And I genuinely think Tuchel's got the look, and I think he's got the knack, certainly in cup competitions, to win it. Maybe it's the Euros, maybe it's the World Cup in America, who knows? But I'm just glad they made an appointment. I think the positive things about his appointment certainly are that he's been there, done and got the T-shirt as far as winning things is concerned. But then on top of that, he's also worked with quite a few of the players who are in and around the squad. Some of the players may well have thought that time was up and they were probably going to move on and retire, like Kieran Trippier did. But there's so many players there that Tuchel's had the experience of managing at club level. I think it'll be a positive. He's not walking into a dressing room full of strangers, and he gets an opportunity in November to sit in the stands and watch. That'll probably be his remit. Watch and learn. He may be going around and meeting the managers and listening as well to the managers of all the other Premier League clubs doing their pre-match conferences yesterday and the day before. There's a lot of respect for Tuchel. Eddie Howe, when he was out of work, actually went to watch him when he was at Chelsea. And he basically said he's a really nice guy and he was very welcoming and he's very good at what he does. So there was a lot of positivity there from everybody, not just Eddie Howe. And I think it's the right man for the job. Forget about the racism, and it is racism, this rubbish that people have been circulating and putting out there saying that he's because he's German, it's a ridiculous appointment, blah, blah, blah. It's racism. Just ignore it. Give him an opportunity. He's not the first foreign manager we've had. He'll not be the last. And for me, he starts with a blank canvas, and I hope it's a one that when it's fully painted, it includes a trophy, because it would be great for him to do that. But that's enough from me on that. Ted, what's your feelings on the appointment of Tuchel?
I think it's a cracking appointment. Tommy Tuchel, he might sound like a children's entertainer from the 80s, not like the kind that, have been in the news. But yeah, I think he's an absolutely first-class coach. I think England have actually pulled a real masterstroke in getting him. I think it's a fantastic appointment. His coaching ability is second to none. He's very much a hands-on kind of player. You look at some of the footage from his sessions that he's run. This guy absolutely demands everything at a top pedigree and from the point of view of actually putting effort into training sessions. That's what he demands, is 100% every single time. He's actually, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, Steve. This whole thing, well, he should have been English. Well, do you know what? If we had that many good English managers who were available for the job, I'm sure they would have got one. But the fact of the matter is, I couldn't give a toss whether he's from Zargon 6. If we win a World Cup and get another star on the chest, I think it's a very, very exciting appointment. He comes in with an English second in charge as well, which he's coached with for a long, long time. I think the players are going to respond well to this. I mean, there's been talk from some of the managers that they were, around the Premier League and in the Championship as well, that they would have preferred to see an English manager. I don't buy that. I really don't buy it at all. I think you've got to buy for success. We've had quite a number of English managers over the last couple of years at Sunderland. We've not getting a sniff of looking anywhere near a force to be reckoned with and go into the Premier League. We've gone foreign this time around, and it looks a little bit more likely. So sometimes you need that outside perspective. But as for like the comment from Bonzo the Clown at Sheffield United, who's
I'm sure Ryan will come on him.
Honestly, he's not fit to put the phones out for Thomas Tuchel. He really isn't. Absolutely not. So yeah, I think it's an exciting appointment. And I just don't understand. Is he on garden leave or something like that? Because I don't understand why he's not starting until January.
It's a strange one. I think he possibly is. But
right.
There's definitely a reason for it. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, mate, it gives them a chance, like I said before, to sit and watch this ridiculous waste of time called the Nations League in November, to basically go, right, X, Y, and Z, they're in my plans. X, Y, and Z, they're not in my plans. Who out of everybody else can I bring in? And I think it's important that he does that. And maybe it's got something to do with the fact that Carsley was given it for that particular period of time. But whatever the reason, I think it's actually beneficial to the job, that he sits in the stands for a couple of games and just watches. Right.
Yes, sir.
Ted gave a great intro to the guy I'm sure you're going to mention, who had an opinion about the England appointment.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm disappointed you guys didn't go Australian. I think that the more you guys keep coming and becoming Australian, the closer you are to getting success. We've seen it in the cricket. Football's next. Socceroos are a top tier international football team, and England would want to be like them. So look,
like Jason Donovan's busy though, isn't he?
I thought it was a good appointment. It was the interesting one was seeing Lee Carsley's press conference. I mean, him talking. I've never seen a man not want the job more than Lee Carsley after that press conference where he's saying, I just hope I can go back to under 21s. Think I've got it for a couple more weeks. He had no idea what was going on. Now, whether that's bad communication from the FA or just Lee just purely, trying to distance himself, I'm not too sure. But I think Thomas Tuchel's the right appointment. I don't see who's out there. I mean, we were talking Graham Potter, Eddie Howe. These blokes are in a job. I mean, we've seen with Thomas Tuchel, I think the reason he's starting in January is because of that Bayern Munich. He's still got that contract to be paid out. Apparently, that's the reason Graham Potter can't take any job as well, because he's still got a Chelsea contract there that he's still getting paid for, and no one wants to touch and pay that out for him to come and do work. So it's an interesting thing for managers when you see. But look, it's the right man for the job, isn't it? I mean, we've all been worked in a business, haven't we? We've all worked, in some sort of company where you're going to hire the right man for the job. It doesn't. I don't know about you. I don't look at the nationality. I don't look at. Nothing like that when it comes to my working situation. Of, if they're the right person, the right fit, they've got the right credentials, then of course they get a chance. And I think that should be it. And you're absolutely right. It's racism. And I think Chris Wilder. I'm coming for you, mate. You need to pull the zip over the mouth sometimes, mate, because he was the only one that I saw out there in the coaching. Oh, it's just disgusting. Do you know what I mean? He's an English man, he's given his thoughts, great, good on him, but like, it's just like, get behind him. The appointment's been made. By the time they asked people what they thought, Michael Carrick said, it's the FA. And he said, as a player, you just respect the person in charge. The players will do that. Whether it's Thomas Tuchel, Fabio, you've had international managers in the past, and you've seen some success. So look, it doesn't have to be an Englishman. I'm sure there would be, some sort of pleasure in an Englishman caking you too, but you had Southgate and you kept going to the finals, and you couldn't get that next step. So can Tuchel take that next step, with arguably the best attacking England squad you've seen in many, many years? I mean, we see the depth of that up front. It's incredible. So if he can get them firing, then, God bless him. So, but yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting to see. And I think you've fallen behind the Socceroos now.
Interesting stuff, interesting times. We will wish them all the best and see what happens. How did the Aussie ladies cricket team come on, says Jodie Toon for life? Obviously they must have got beat. I certainly don't follow the cricket, not in that situation. And as for Wilder, Tucknell says Wilder probably thought he should have been offered the job. The guy loves himself. I think Wilder, if you want my honest opinion on him, I think he's bigging himself up for a career in the media, which probably won't be too far away. To be in the media, you've got to be controversial.
No.
I think that's exactly what he does. Les,
he's like, I can't believe it's not Joey Barton.
Yeah. Les says, Rye on Chris Wilder. I felt uncomfortable hearing him speak too. And Gary says, if Howe had been given the England job and gone, I'd have wanted Tuchel at Newcastle, which is an interesting thing as well.
Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah. Kevin Anderson's been a bit naughty here. He says, question to Steve Wraith.
Yes.
Newcastle United rebuild at St James's Park, rebuild or complete upgrade. But if it means Newcastle needs ground share, so temporary need relocation, either Stadium of Light or Riverside. Well, this is good because we can all talk about this.
I know what's coming here. I know what's coming.
Yeah, well, no, I'm going to be kind.
It's not the first time we've opened the doors for you, is it?
Well, it's not. No, you opened the doors brilliantly last season. I mean, we could have the whole thing, whole ground fitted out. Neither ground's big enough for our fans. So to be honest, we'd need Wembley, which is what Spurs did, and we need a bigger ground. But are Newcastle fans going to go to Wembley every week for a game or every other week for a game? I would do it. And that's the precedent that was set by Spurs. And I know Spurs only had to go across London, but I think with our owners and the money they've got, and with 2,500, 3,000 fans wanting to make the journey each time, if they wanted to move the ground that much, I think Newcastle's owners could make that generous gesture of paying for away support for those fans who are lucky enough to get tickets. Now, bear in mind, London games as well. We do have a big Newcastle United London supporters group in London who would welcome the tickets. So in my mind, Newcastle should get the same option as Spurs did. They should be allowed to play at the National Stadium till that stadium gets built. And I think that's workable. And I think most Newcastle fans would go for that. For starters, it would mean we could actually get a chance to win at Wembley. Surely we're going to win one game. Then it might break the hoodoo, but we've never won at Wembley in my lifetime, with exception the Mercantile Credit Classic in 1988, which I was at. Neil MacDonald scored the penalty. They beat Liverpool 1-0. And then typical Newcastle on the same day, because there was loads of games played that day, short games, of course. Newcastle then played Tranmere and got beat 2-0. So typical Newcastle. Typical Newcastle. Beat Liverpool, get beat off Tranmere. But yeah, that's my suggestion. So if it came about, I'm going to keep it best. I'm going to keep it to last year. Right.
Yeah.
If it was suggested that Newcastle came and shared your stadium, would you be up for Newcastle playing at Borough?
Yep, except the directions we'd give you would be to Victoria Park in Hartlepool, and we'd let you fill that out. I think that holds 7,000 or something. You might get close to that on an away day. So no. I mean, look. The Riverside Stadium is the best stadium in the world. So if anyone, we've seen the likes of James Arthur, one of the most fantastic artists of all time, perform there. you know what I mean?
I nearly swore. I actually genuinely nearly swore there.
We had Take That. Do you know what I mean? Absolute just stardom, at the Riverside. So look, you'd be welcome to but I just don't think that the Hello Turf would do you any right. And look, in all honesty, Newcastle would need a big stadium. Maybe you got to wait till the Wembley of the North is built, and get on Jim Ratcliffe because he's building that soon apparently still, right? So wait for that to be built.
When's the Just Given page going up for that? Ted, thoughts if Newcastle United were offered the chance to play at the stadium?
Open doors.
I've got plenty of thoughts on it. Not much of them I can repeat on here. I mean, what you could do, you could have your reserve games at the Riverside, and you'd still probably fill the stadium more than what they do for a league game. But I don't know. I feel like with the and it's all right. It's not all Newcastle fans. You know it's banter, but given the clientele, I think Gypsy Green Stadium would be far more.
How about sharing Ellen Road?
Yeah, take that. Take that.
Leeds would still try and charge your away fans prices for that. Scumbags.
Great stuff.
Take Ellen Road.
A good question, that, Kevin.
Actually, it is a good question.
There was, yeah.
Did create some debate. And Isaac says, question, who is the best North East team? I think it's a subliminal.
Easily.
Is this a subliminal question where he's put Middlesbrough first because he's a Borough fan, Sunderland or Newcastle?
Already answered it, lads. Already answered it. The three lads on this podcast.
I might say Newcastle. What are you going to say, Ted?
The three lads on this podcast.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
That's the best team in North East football.
There you go.
Not wrong.
Rising
not wrong.
Well. We'll
not wrong.
That. There you go, Isaac.
We all deserve to be in Premier League, I'll say that.
Just something higher.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to concentrate on the games ahead for our teams now. We're going to start with Newcastle, who are at home today. It's a good old-fashioned 3 o'clock kickoff, which means there's no live TV coverage for us. And following the international break, we are restarting our Premier League campaign by welcoming Brighton and Hove Albion to St James's Park today. We are looking to extend our unbeaten Premier League home run to 12 games. Now, that's going to match a sequence recorded between May 22 and February 23, of course, under this manager, Eddie Howe. So looking at one of his own records today. As for the team news at St James's Park, well, Eddie Howe was in his press conference yesterday and was in good form, it has to be said. He did confirm the media stories that have been floating around with regards to Kieran Trippier. He suffered a hamstring injury, which is going to keep him out for a few weeks, which is disappointing from our perspective, but it means we've got Tino Livramento back in at right back, who will look to maybe cement the place that he was hoping to cement at the start of the season. Positive news came from Eddie's press conference as well about the forward line. He was asked first about Alexander Isak, and he returns to the squad. His toe is a lot better, and he's been training on it for the last couple of weeks, and firing on all cylinders. Alexander Isak is fit for selection. He was a bit more cautious, I would say, about Callum Wilson. Not the first time you'll have heard me say that on shows on this platform, but Callum Wilson is training, has been back on the grass this week and working with his teammates, and will certainly play some part over the next 4 or 5 games in this block. So that's great news for us, but he's, as you can expect, been very cautious. Lewis Miley has also been training this week with the first team, and again, cautious with Lewis Miley because, again, he's coming back from a long-term injury. The one thing he did say about Lewis Miley was that it looks like he's never been away. And on NUFC Matters podcast this week, we also had a little bit of input from somebody who had bumped into somebody inside the club on a flight, and they had said that Lewis Miley has come on leaps and bounds. Watch out for his performances this season was the message. So that sounds great. It sounds as if Lewis Miley's coming back and he's ready to go and really looks the part. We did get an update as well on Sven Botman, who has been posting a lot of social media posts with regards to his recovery, all which look very positive, and all which fans look at and think, oh, he's going to be back very soon. Eddie dismissed that and said that he's probably looking at just before Christmas, which is still a month ahead of schedule. So he's hitting all his targets. He's not training with the team yet, but good news as far as Newcastle are concerned on Sven Botman. Jamal Lascelles still out, and keep an eye on Joe Linton today. He is only one booking away from an automatic suspension, so no change in Joe Linton's style of play this season. As for the visitors, well, Brighton have got Adam Webster, Matt O'Reilly, James Milner and Howe Pedro, all missing out on the visit to Tyneside. The latter one is a big bit of news for me because Pedro is a major threat. Milner, ex-player coming back to hold.
Isn't he 42 now, Milner? Has to
38.
38, sorry.
Wow.
Jean-Paul Van Heck and Jorginho Rutter are also doubtful. So they've got a few injury problems themselves. Their away form, been a bit of a mixed bag. They've won one, drawn one, and they've lost one. They had a 3-0 win, if you remember, quite recently at Everton. They murdered Everton. There's no doubt about it with Minty, having a blinder. They had a 1-1 draw at Arsenal, and they had a 4-2 defeat at Chelsea. So, bit hit and miss, it has to be said, Brighton. And of course, Minty coming to town. All of Newcastle's social media has been full of Yankuba Minty this week. For a player that never played for Newcastle, I'm not too worried. And we did have somebody come onto the show this week on UFC Matters who's a Brighton season ticket holder and has been for 50 years and said he's rubbish. So that really fills him with confidence. He's not really had the greatest of starts, according to our Brighton fans. So we will wait and see. Referee, we've had him already this season for the 3-1 defeat at Fulham. It's Peter Banks. And on VAR, it is Tony Harrington. This game, as always, will be affected by the crowd. Newcastle United, Sunderland and Middlesbrough all have fanatical support, and the crowd does make a hell of a difference. And for me, it needs to be at its best from the off, because if it's not, and if there's mumbles and groans and, as we see sometimes, gets off to a great start, 10 minutes in, everyone's sitting on their hands and there's no support. Got to get behind the team. Got to lift the team. Isaac needs a goal today. If he's back in the first team, which we imagine he is, he's going to need a goal. He's not got off to the greatest start. The service to him has been poor. But remember the game we played against Everton. Newcastle might not have got the result they deserved, but that performance was the best one we've played this season. We didn't have a striker. We had Anthony Gordon playing up front. If Newcastle can find the same levels and the same level of performance as they did against Everton, Newcastle will win this game today. But they've got to do that. We can't afford any slip-ups at home. We can't afford to slip up against Brighton. Newcastle have got to win this game. I'm very tentative. I am going to go for a win today, but it'll be 1-0. I don't see this being a goal fest that I've seen some people predict. I hope I'm wrong. I hope it's the shellacking of all shellackings for Brighton today, and Newcastle hit form and do what they did to Spurs a couple of times in recent seasons. But Brighton are no mugs. Yes, they've got a few injuries. But yeah, me personally, I'm going to go for a 1-0 win, and I don't care whether it goes in off Dan Burn's backside. That 1-0 win will be a great start to what is a hard set of games. So, Ted, we'll come to you first. What's your feelings about this game today?
I think you summed it up perfectly in terms of Brighton. I think at home, they're a very, very, very difficult side to beat, and they beat top teams at home as well. Let's not forget that. They've got a really nice blend of talent coming through. Minty obviously was picked up at a decent price they paid for him. But obviously, the partner him up with people like Danny Welbeck, who are just so experienced in the Premier League. And are you drinking a black and white tin? Seriously?
There you are. It's me glass.
It's a glass. I thought you literally had branded black and white cans. That's quite smart. Okay. That would leave a nasty taste in my mouth.
For Christmas.
Yeah, you're all right. You're all right. Oh, I'll stick with me hip flask. Yeah, listen, Brighton. You're right in what you said. They don't travel well at all. A bit like Blue Star beer. It just doesn't go down. I don't know whether it's a confidence thing. You mentioned about the crowd being on the side as well, and I just don't think they have that same impetus when they're not playing at home. So I think it might be a bit of a tricky one. I don't think they'll get the thrashing like what you've done to Spurs in recent games, but listen, they're very, very dangerous on the counter. They've got good players. Yes, they've got their injuries, but the likes of Mitoma can hurt really, really good opposition. Danny Welbeck has always known where the back of the net is. And obviously, with him being a former Sunderland low knee, I'm going to be rooting for him a little bit today. I can't see Newcastle keeping a clean sheet, but I think they've just got too much for them on a home game, certainly. So I'm going to go 2-1 Newcastle, and I hope Danny Welbeck gets a goal out of it as well.
It's going to be an interesting one for me. Going to be an interesting one. It's a good game, obviously, on paper. Seeing Isak come back in is a massive, massive boost for Newcastle, and I think that's going to be probably the difference. Speaking of Mitoma, I actually watched him midweek. Australia played Japan in Japan. Mitoma played the full 95 minutes in 85% humidity. He played 95 minutes in 85% humidity. So I'm telling you right now, Mitoma at Brighton today is going to be zapped. Obviously, they are fit boys. They play back and forth, but he has come off Tuesday night where he played in Japan at 85% humidity. So I reckon he's going to be absolutely gassed, as is Riley McGree at the Borough today as well, because that humidity, for anyone knows what humidity does, it just zaps the life out of you. So I honestly think Newcastle can get a win here today because it's in their yard. Do you know what I mean? And Isak comes in as a massive boost. Brighton as well have got, the youngest manager, something I know about well on this podcast, being the young stud. So, he's got a lot to do still with Brighton, I think. But look, Brighton they always find a way, haven't they? Ever since they came up, they've just found a way to be competitive, to push teams. They've now got that Premier League sort of wage, I guess. After a few seasons of back-to-back, they can now, have that squad around them. But I think Newcastle's going to be too strong today. And I'm going to go 2-0 to Newcastle.
2-0 to the tune.
Clean
good stuff. It's a clean sweep as well for the lads. So fantastic.
That's it. We've cursed them.
Get on, Brighton 3-1. Brighton 3-1.
2-1 Brighton. Just look at me, lad, Brooks. 2 seconds, lads.
As always, we go through a little spell where we have to have a little drink or have to go away and make a cup of tea. And during that period, I like to get out what can only be described as Jules' cat. And Jules is in the chat today. So enjoy you, Jules. Yes, the German ones did fly in, and I've got to be perfectly honest. Thank you to everybody who sent them, but I'm being very careful which one I pick. And this is the one that I've chosen. England's new dugout.
Very good.
Very good. But there was a few which I would never show on here. But the winners this week, I couldn't pick between the two lads. There are two fantastic ones here. Many of you will have heard that poor Alex Ferguson now can't get in the match for free. So I got this one. Need money for a season ticket.
That's a really nice Photoshop job, to be fair.
You smoothed that one.
Paddy Power again. Ferguson will always remain welcome at Old Trafford to give television cameras someone to zoom in on during heavy home defeats. And I love the breaking news thing as well. Breaking news, Man United finally sacked manager. Oh, fantastic. Get the football ones in because we do like them, and we always show them on this show because Julie likes to get a cat out. Okay, I bet you Julie's chuckling. All right, we're going to go to Rye next. Rye's going to take over the channel and tell us a little bit about what we've got in store for the Borough.
The Borough. The other North East team playing today, Sunderland are on gardening leave. We will be playing at Bristol City at home at the Riverside today in a game that's actually got a bit of emotion, and we'll get this out of the way. It's actually one that's hit home for me, and we've seen a bit of it this week, sadly. But Bristol City head coach Liam Manning, he won't be there today. Unfortunately, he lost his baby son, Theo, during the week. He passed away. So thoughts go out from here, us at the Northeast podcast, obviously to any, to Liam Manning, to his family. Nobody likes to, especially a child, and not only that, a baby as well. So there is going to be an applause at the start of the game. We saw Steve Bruce, I think, as well. Was it, young? He lost, the young nephew as well. So grandson. There you go. So I mean, it's been a shocking week for it. But Liam Manning, the Bristol City manager, won't be there today. It'll be run by his assistant as he takes a leave of absence after losing his son. So bless him, and thoughts go out to anyone involved in that. Just sickening. But onto the game. It's going to be a great game. We've been begging and borrowing for these international breaks. Just seem to come at the wrong time for Borough, where we seem to have a bit of a roll on, and then we sort of get stopped in our tracks like all the other teams do for an international break. We came off a bad loss against Watford at home. We saw some changes in that team. Maybe he was predicting, some long trips for the likes of Riley McGree, Aidan Morris going to America during this international break as well. Will they or won't they start? Michael Carrick said, they're footballers. They get paid, well enough if they're fit and ready to go. Of course, he's going to pick them, but we've got a very deep squad. We've got a lot of boys coming back from injury. The likes of Matt Clark now is back fit and firing. How do you fit him in to that centre-back role now? I mean, Matt Clark was our leading goal scorer from the centre-back position this season. And he can't even get on the team because of the likes of George Edmondson, who's on loan from Ipswich, having an absolute outstanding start. Rav Vandenberg, our young 19-year-old superstar centre-back, he's back fit and firing. So things are looking good for the Borough. Team-wise, we're looking very strong in depth finally, and the injuries are starting to take a little bit of a back seat, thank God, touch wood. Likes of Tommy Conway coming back potentially against his old club today. Tommy was made to train with the under-21s after refusing a new contract in the off-season, ended up signing for the Borough, and what was touted as a pretty big move as well. We also are excited by Ben Doak, our young 18-year-old right winger on loan from Liverpool. He's an absolute star. He's had absolute all the time in the world down the right-hand side. We seem to have the one attack down the right-hand side through him as well. So hopefully we can use maybe the left or right at some point as well. But look, it's going to be a good game. We're at home at the Riverside. I think it's going to be a good victory for the Borough. But again, as I said, there is a bit of emotion around it. We've had a few games now where we had the West Brom one coming off where the fan passed away. And now we've got this one with Liam Manning missing as well. But look, going for a Borough victory today. I'm going to see Latte Lass score today. He has got a big monkey on his back, so to speak, because the bloke he's doing all the work in front. He's running his heart out, but he cannot get that ball in the back of the net. And I'm looking for him to score today to try and get that, that curse that he starts to feel. You see him praying to God every time he misses, like, when's it going to break? I think it's going to break today in a good victory for the Borough.
Okay, Ted, your feelings on this game, Borough against Bristol?
Well, I will start by saying that I was watching a little bit of Michael Carrick's press conference, and he was getting harassed. We've
Where's it gone?
It's no longer three's crowd. Are we just two's company now, or?
It's all right. He said his bit.
Should we just? I don't know. Should we hide?
He's back.
Sorry.
What did you do?
I think my daughter, who's like now pulling herself up, she likes
pull herself up. She smacked her down.
She went offline. Just get off.
She's got an infatuation with the modem. I do apologize.
Oh wow, excellent. I was just starting to say that I actually watched a bit of the Michael Carrick press conference. He was he's been rudely interrupted by somebody calling him halfway through, which has then revealed itself on social media later on as potentially Rye has been ringing him during the press conferences, Steve. I don't know whether you've seen the video or not. Go and see it on your social media. But yeah, it did give me a little bit of a chuckle. Fair play, mate. Fair play.
Thank you.
Very funny. I loved it. Onto the game. Nah, you've got no chance. I genuinely think something is not right at Borough at this moment in time, and you've hit the nail on the head with Latte Lath, and I think that epitomises what's going on this season. I do wonder whether his head's in the right space since that whole Ipswich talk. I agree. I think the work ethic is there, but I don't know whether it's a mental block or whether it's just not dropping for him at this moment in time. But that's somebody who should be up there with the top end of scorers come the end of the season, and it's just not quite looking like it's clicking at this moment in time. On the flip side of that, Aidan Morris, for me, I think is an absolute star for you guys. I think he's a wonderful, wonderful talent. It'd be interesting to see if you can actually hold on to somebody like him if you don't get promoted this season.
True.
Because he's got the kind of look about him that I think he could definitely play in the Premier League. I think he's got a bit of class about him, a bit of bite. He's just, a really, really good holding midfielder. And so, that's not going to win you games, though. Ben Doak, I agree, but he's this season's Jack Clark, mate. I think they'll suss him out because when you get a new toy like that, like a Ben Doak, you want to use them all the time, and then teams go, well, we know where it's going to go, so we're just shooting in on him. And you're right. Again, you're right in what you're saying. That's where it needs to balance up. It needs to be on the left, needs to be on the right, and you need to be able to play through the centre as well. So they're maybe just starting to overload a little bit of pressure on Ben Doak. Very, very exciting talent, though. You can see why Liverpool aren't keen to offload him permanently. This is somebody who they're happy to let go out on loan, but they're very much apparently keeping an eye on his progress as well. So it's a tough one. I think the emotion comes into it as well, right? Bristol City are a very good championship side. They score goals for fun. I think somebody else mentioned that earlier on in the comments. They are a high-scoring side. It'd be an interesting one to see if Tommy Conway, what sort of reaction he gets from their fans, and also whether he actually gets a game, because I mean, he wasn't on the bench for the last time he played as well. I don't think he was starting. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one. I think because Bristol City are capable of scoring a lot of goals, and because it's Middlesbrough at home, I'm gonna actually plump for a draw on this one. And I'm actually going to go for a Desmond. We haven't had a nice, exciting 2-2 draw to Middlesbrough for a little while. So, yeah, I'm going to go with that. I think Tommy Conway will get his little reward against his former side. But, yeah, I just, with that unsettled feeling at Middlesbrough, I kind of see them keeping a clean sheet.
Interesting that, because I'm going to go for a draw as well. Because Bristol City are draw specialists. That's what they've done this season. And, they've had a couple of games where, they've been nip and tuck. I mean, there was that humdinger second game of the season where they played Millwall at home. It was going backwards and forwards. It was one of those games on Soccer Saturday where literally it was going 1-1. They won it 4-3. But yeah, the rest of the season so far has been plodding along with draws. Coventry 1-1. Then they drew with Swansea 1-1 away. And then they had a 0-0 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. And the last game, a 1-1 with Cardiff. So what Bristol City's fixtures tell you is that when it comes to playing teams who probably expect to beat them, they tend to shut up shop and, they manage to get something out of it. So I'm going to go for 1-1 today. I think that, they've managed 3 draws in a row, Bristol, and I think they'll continue in the same fashion. It's not going to be any good for Borough. Borough have got to try and find a way to break them down, and it's going to be difficult. They don't concede a lot of goals. And I think that's since the back end of August, when they had 2 pretty heavy defeats. They obviously had a 3-0 away defeat at Derby, and then went to Blackburn and lost 3-0 there. And I think something's happened then. They've just sat down and gone, right, listen, we can't afford to go the rest of the season like this. We need to tighten up, but we need to defend from the front. And I think that's basically what Bristol are doing now. Mm-hmm. And it's got results, since September the 21st, 2-1 against Oxford at home, 1-1 against Swansea, 0-0 against Sheffield Wednesday, and 1-1 against Cardiff. So I think they'll continue that run. Borough have just got to be careful. Because as we know, if they don't fire on all cylinders, Bristol could sneak a result, and that's not what Borough need at this time in the season. Borough really need a win. If they are going to keep in touch with the runners and riders at the top, they need a win today. I would say for the fans, they need a comprehensive win because, like I said, he has the feeling there's something just not quite right at Borough. And like I keep saying, I've said it on all the shows so far, you can have a bad start to the season. It doesn't matter. August, September in the Championship, you can have a nightmare. You could lose every game. You can still get promoted. But now we're coming into the back end of October, the start of November. You've got to start winning games now. If you've been serious about being in the playoff or being in an automatic promotion place, you've got to win games. But sorry, Ryan, I'm going for a draw today. Whether that's a good one or a bad one, I don't know. But
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. And the Championship's, outlining that as well. So, and anything can happen in the Championship. I mean, we see there's fake news all over the shop. We got fake news at the top of the championship, fake news at the bottom of the championship. So look, it's as far as there for the taking.
All right, Sunderland don't play till tomorrow, Ted. You've got a bit of rest, mate. Who are you playing?
Yes, we've got Hull away tomorrow, or Hull as you pronounce it, from the East Yorkshire Peninsula.
Across the Humber Bridge.
The Humber Bridge. Does that charge to get you across there? Is there a toll bridge or something like that? Who would want to pay to get into Hull?
Can I just say quickly, the best thing that Hull have ever done, Tim Walter is the boss. How easy is Tim Walter to pronounce? Get in. Well done, Hull.
Is that because Liam Rosinia wasn't easy to pronounce? You always struggled with that.
Oh, yes, that was his classic, wasn't it? See, who was it again? Right?
Liam Rose Noah.
Exactly. Yes, Rose exactly Noah. That. So yeah, technically, if results go our way, we might not kick a ball today and still be top of the championship. It'll be a nice thought because obviously, it's not going to be Leeds and it's not going to be Sheffield United because they played yesterday. Obviously, Leeds winning that one 2-0. Sheffield United's first defeat of the season as well, so that's good. That's one step near an exit for Chris Wilder, which is what everybody wants. Nobody wants him in football, do they? Let's be honest with you. In terms of the squad, we've made some, an interesting development, and it's a one who Rye thought we'd signed an absolute pizza of a player in Aaron Connolly. And there's been some friendlies, some behind closed door stuff, some under 21s games going on, and Aaron Connolly really, really looks the part. All right, let's not get too excited. It's reserve games and it's under 21s. Yes, exactly. The cat's shouting at me. Yeah, he's a big fan. He's ginger as well, so
he's talking nonsense.
He's ginger. Leave him alone, all right? He's got his boys back. He's got Aaron Connolly's back. No, Aaron Connolly looks certainly physically wise. Obviously, didn't have a club at the start of the season. He's arrived at Sunderland in very, very good shape. The question mark was about where his headspace is at. He gave a very honest and frank interview last week, talking about his own mental health, his struggles with alcohol and things like that, and he does see this as very much almost like a last chance saloon. Really. Saloon, probably the worst word I could have chose out of that one, but never mind. But he's come with a really, really good attitude. He's been talked up by the players and the coaching staff as well. And honestly, I think we've got somebody here who could just be the missing piece in the puzzle for Sunderland, because there's no doubt in his talent. I mean, for Hull City last season, he was exceptional. It was something like 13 goals in 18 starts for them, which for a striker, you can't really grumble with that. He's somebody who can go a long way in football. He's just got to keep his head right now. And I think he's at a place where Sunderland specialise in sort of giving people that next chance or last chance. Patrick Roberts is a perfect example of that, where he was just a little bit, he didn't really have any home, I suppose, and Patrick Roberts now very, very settled at Sunderland and playing some of the best football of his career. Jack Clark was exactly the same, a career that kind of hit the rails a little bit, playing his football back in the Premier League now, of course. So Aaron Connolly is the one who, he will be on the bench, I believe, for tomorrow's game. And I think he could actually turn this game. Hull City are always going to be up and around there. They spent enough money, let's be honest. They're going to be up and around there in the playoff position. So it's a test again for us. Every game's a test in the championship. I just feel at this moment in time, there's an element of confidence about the side. We've got Mayenda coming back in. Wilson Isidore's led the line really well. 2 goals in his last 2 games. But Mayenda, get a bit of competition again. We've got Aaron Connolly in there. We've now got a striker problem, lads, which is, I never thought as a Sunderland fan I was ever going to say this. We've got 3 strikers and we don't know which one to play, so that's great. Chrissy Rigg, Young Player of the Month for the Sky Bet Championship last month. And obviously he got Goal of the Month as well. I don't know whether you saw it right. It was a crafty little backheel against some North Yorkshire club. Yeah. So yeah, I think we're going into this in decent shape. Hull City are a little bit hit and miss. I think under the new management, it's taken time to bed in. They maybe's not hitting the form that they maybe anticipated they did, that they would anticipate they were going to. for me, they should never have got rid of Rosenia because despite he's more difficult to pronounce, he is actually a very good coach and he was getting them playing some decent stuff. So, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think personally we'll have a little bit too much for them. I know we had a tough outing last time. We're just getting players back at the right time now. I think we're starting to look pretty solid. I'm going to go for a sneaky 1-0 win tomorrow.
Ooh, okay, right. What's your thoughts on this one? It's a game Sunderland at the top of the league. Hull are floating around your area and Bristol City's area at the moment.
Yeah, look, it's interesting to see. Obviously, they're bouncing back from. I think Ted hit the nail on the head. I thought Hull finished just outside of, after spending so much cash on bringing so many good players in. The exit being Ryan Giles, which Borough fans, you'll be well aware of what Ryan Giles can do. He's still there, so there is a lot of talent still at Hull. And Tim Walter, obviously new boss going in, kind of finding his feet again. Tim hasn't, is a new coach to the England system, but by all accreditation, he's got such a fantastic resume. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I think, again, look, it's 2 home away games now back to back for Sunderland, and it's 2 tough games. It's Hull and then Luton Town. So it's a good test to see, has it been a fluke or is it actually Sunderland have found something again under Reggie Labris. So I'm excited to see, and I'll probably end up watching it being on a Sunday and watch Hull City win 4-0.
Hang on, I'm going to pull you to task on this one. You're saying it's a fluke. We're quarter of the way through the season. It's not a fluke.
It's hard. It's because there's something in me. There's something in me that is just waiting for you to do a classic Sunderland. We saw this at the start of last season where Mogga had you guys firing, and then you went and sacked Mogga. Do you know what I mean? There's just something I'm just waiting for, and it's not necessarily on the pitch. It's something off the pitch that just seems I'm just waiting for it to happen. But look, honestly, you're right. It's not a fluke. And what an impressive start to the season after losing Jack Clark. I think it would be fair to say most Sunderland fans would have been like doom and gloom. Let's see where we can sort of, especially how you finished the end of last season, mid-table. Can we get there? Stay in the championship. You're first in the championship. So I don't think it's a fluke. And you know what? You've got a lot of talent in that, because when one player leaves, you look at Mundell now. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Patrick Roberts coming in as well. That you've probably arguably got the best left back in the championship now as well. So there's talent there. Do we get, just like Aidan Morris, we were talking about that. The problem for me when it comes to January is can Sunderland hold on to those players? And look, if you're in the first position come January, it's a lot easier to sell the future of the club to keeping those players around. So, yeah, look, it's going to be an interesting task. These 2 away games against 2 teams that will be up there in the playoffs. Luton Town's an interesting one coming midweek as well. Rob Edwards needs a win. He's so desperate for a win after getting relegated, and they're just doing absolutely shocking down at Luton Town now. So, yeah, look, no, honestly, I'll be serious. I think Sunderland will win this one against Hull. I think it's going to be a couple of goals either way, though, and I'm going to go a 2-1. To Sunderland. I just think Romain Mundell is going to be such a handful, and their left back in Ryan Giles. We know Borough fans very, very well. Ryan Giles is a very good attacking left back, but my goodness, does he leave a big gap behind him when he pushes up, and he pushes up very, 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 very high on the pitch, almost as a left winger. And that leaves a big gap for the informed Patrick Roberts and Mundell if they switch him across as well. So I think Sunderland are going to be able to out down the flanks of Hull and get it in. And we've also lost Jacob Greaves as well. Don't forget their absolute centre-back star in Jacob Greaves at Hull. He went to Ipswich Town, as did Jack Clark. And now they've got they're still finding their feet in defence at Hull. So yeah, I think Sunderland can capitalise on that, and I think you will get the win. And look, is it a fluke? I don't think so. I think you guys are playing very well. And I'm actually surprised that England didn't even go for Michael Beale.
He's probably complaining on his own website that they didn't.
I'll get Chris Whaler's opinion on this. The results that Hull have had, I would call them schizophrenic because they've had such a weird start of the season, and it's found.
Try picking this one. It's
found them. They're 11th. God knows how when you look at some of the results they've had, but they had that little spell where what happened, I just don't know. But after the defeat against Sheffield United at home. They just went on a goal feast. They beat Stoke away 3-1, beat Cardiff at home 4-1, then went away to QPR, which is difficult a place to go to, midweek as well, 3-1 win. But then that last game absolutely tanked at Norwich, 4-0. And try and predict it. Try and predict it. If you look at that scoreline against Norwich, they've had 2 weeks to dwell on it, basically. Yeah. I can't see anything other than a Sunderland win in this game, and I think
it's all three of us that said it.
Yep.
I think
last time we did that, Wayne Rooney.
I'm going to say a 3-0 win to Sunderland. I think Sunderland will demolish Hull again. I think it'll be 3-0, and I think they'll be sitting at the top of the league again for another week. I think
so. For those, bet responsibly, but for those playing at home, it's going to be a
lump it on Hull.
It's going to be, Brighton. They're going to walk through at St. James. I think we all went. No, Middlesbrough are going to win today because they guys didn't pick Middlesbrough either.
Yeah, it's honestly, it's such a hard game to predict that one. But I genuinely think that's going to be. I think that's going to be a resounding win for Sunderland. So. Interesting stuff. Now, I have brought something to finish the show today, lads. We talked about our three teams, and I got sent this in by a viewer. So it's not a test, don't worry. It's just an opinion. So you're a kid and you're in your dad's car. What is he about to make you listen to? Now, of course, that's a cassette, millennials.
Regards, Mick.
That's a cassette machine. Mick. Regards, Mick. Yeah, and you used to basically put that in the car machine, the tape machine, and used to play music. So, yeah, what kind of music on a car trip, right? Did Regards, Mick?
We're going on a few road trips.
Men at work. First comment in. Men at work.
I've got to tell people this. The reason that we call Rye's dad Regards Mick is why, Rye?
Well, my dad has a habit of signing off every text message he sends with Regards Mick. Even though I know it's from him, he knows that his name comes up and he's my dad. He still signs off every text message with Regards Mick, and he continues to do it to this day. And I appreciate that because just in case you forget who the text message comes from, it's Regards Mick. Look, honestly, we had a few road trips back in the day to all the sporting events he used to take me to. Elvis, I would say, is up there. But the classic that always came on was Hotel California by the Eagles. He always
shut the front door. Yeah. Literally, I was going to go for that as well.
No way.
I'm being deadly serious.
It's like the dad's song, isn't it? I swear to God, he just put that on and you'd know you're on a road trip with the old man. But yeah, Regards Rick, to Regards Mick, Hotel California.
It's funny, isn't it, what song you remember? So, I mean, my dad and my mum had such a wonderful array of music that they listened to. I could pick a million songs, but one that stands out is Jack and Diane by John Cougar Mellencamp.
Oh, yeah.
For whatever reason, that is like, and that we used to do long road trips. My dad would drive us to Scotland. My dad would drive us to London. And, holiday was in, we used to stay in Cooper and Fife, and we used to stay in Wimbledon, which is where our relations were. So yeah, we used to listen to Steve Forbert, Warren Zevon, Bob Seger, Bob Dylan, the AC/DC, Leonard Skinner, Led Zeppelin, you name it. I mean, literally listen to everything. So some fantastic memories. And when I was in the car with my granddad, it was always the Beatles or Dean Martin.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Julie knows that I like to have a sing on this show, but I'm not going to sing there because there's nothing really that there's in there. I'm going to go through the list of things that people have sent in. Sam Thompson wins it by a country mile by saying Men at Work, of course. For Rye. Roger just quite simply says, it's a tape.
Jules shock.
Jules says the Carpenters is what she would be.
Another one my dad used to have on in the car. My dad used to he used to take the mick out to me. So there's a song I still love it to this day. So when we used to go to the match, my dad used to pick me up. Mum and dad weren't together. My dad used to pick me up top of the street. And if it was a sunny day, which rarely happens in Sunderland, but sometimes it does, you'd have to have a pair of sunglasses on to watch the match, because obviously you kind of spend the whole game going like that. You've got to have your sunglasses. And my dad used to my dad was just like, he was so witty, so funny, my dad. And he would just always have a cut and comment, like off the cuff, straight away. And he would annihilate me. And literally, he started doing this thing where he had Ray Charles take these chains ready for when I go in the car with my sunglasses on. And he would start and mime as if he was blind and drive the car at the same time, by the way. Yeah. Yeah.
Fantastic.
But big Mercedes weaving all over the road. But yeah, that one definitely sticks in my mind as Ray Charles take these chains. I love that. Like, absolutely loved it.
Good stuff. Good suggestion for a ride here. Jason Donovan and Kylie, especially.
Yeah,
Yes.
classic. Can't go wrong.
Another one for a ride. Tom Dixon's was the Beatles, anyway, which is great. Les, the Bay City Rollers. Bit of talk in your life, Les, early doors.
Jeez.
And the Beach Boys was another one for Roger.
Yep.
And this one was from Gary, and this is one that I can sing, Jules. Tiger Feet by Mud. I was in my pram when that was in the charts, singing.
That's right. That's
neat. Really love those Tiger Feet. I did actually sing as well. My mum and dad were quite embarrassed once when we were walking around Presto's, which was a supermarket. Yes, millennials. And I was in the like the trolley bit where you're sitting, and I'd been listening to Queen.
She was 26.
And at the top of my voice, I said, "Scaramouche, Scaramouche, does your fanny go bango?" My mum and dad were laughing, but didn't know where to put their face. Jules says we used to listen to Harry Belafonte and Michael Jackson and so on.
Yes.
And
Classic.
the big sorry, Jules says Gary. Oh look, Jules isn't happy that I've been singing. Roy Orbison was one by Steve, but I got me he was two on the drive. He says I played the Clash for him. That's great. And Tom we'll finish up, and he says, "Are you not got the trumpet anymore, Ted?"
Oh no! I think it's my turn next week to be in the middle. So the trumpet, I will be whipping out my trumpet for the boys and girls. Yes. Yeah, that sounds really bad. Can we edit that out?
No, it's live. It's
brilliant.
It's better than our show last night.
Bingo.
Jules says reminds me of George last night. Yeah, on the Three Amigos on my channel last night, George, who's in his 80s. Just decided off the tip of his tongue to say Fanny in the middle of the broadcast.
Right.
And then just moved on. Then moved on with his match prediction. So there we go. And we were all in hysterics. So that really did make last night's show. That is it, lads. We've come to an end. Thank you for sending those tweets in.
Episode 10 in the bag.
Never long enough.
No, it's never long enough.
That's what she said.
Hey, enjoy the weekend and enjoy your weekend, whether you're watching Newcastle, Borough or Sunderland. And we will be back, hopefully, if we can all meet accordingly next week. Take care, guys.
Up the bar.
See you, lads.
Three's a Crowd podcast will return. That's not a threat. It's a promise.